So this is my favorite story on a test, The Scarlet Ribbon. And it's going to be a folk tale from Australia. So a folk tale would just be a genre of literature. So a folk tale is a genre of literature that holds cultural or regional significance and typically tells a story of cultural or regional importance. So, like in this case, it's going to be about Australia. In other stories, a mouse deer would be a story that was tells why there are no tigers. So, a folk tale will give a little bit of a history or something about the region's climate, or the animals there, or it could also give just something that's culturally significant to the people, tells about a music or an important person. That's what a folktale would be. And folktales can change, they can be translated in different ways because folktales are the other thing that makes something a folktale is they were told over generations. So, this by word of mouth, and they weren't typically written down. So, eventually they were written down, and then now we can read folktales as we do now. All right, so here we go. Long ago, in Australia, there lived a girl named Connie Kaya. From the time she was small, Connie Kaya loved to dance. She moved as gracefully as the broglas, the tall, slender cranes that courted along the riverbank. The people in the camp would often see Connie Kaya dancing down by the water, for she wore a scarlet ribbon around her neck, and it floated as she moved. People believed she danced like the moonlight shining on the running river. Dancing was fine for a young child, but by the time she was 12, the people in the camp did not approve of such frivolity in a young woman. She should be working, they insisted. Only the youngest children danced away the day. Connie Kaya's mother, hearing disapproval around the camp, warned her that she must stop dancing. Remember the story of the lazy girl who would not work, she said. She turned into a dingo. The rest of her life she ran with packs of wild dogs, preying on sheep at night. Kanikaya, who knew the camp legends, shivered at her mother's words. Such tales frightened her, but she knew she wasn't lazy. It wasn't laziness that made her forget her work. The need to dance surged through her. She could not stop dancing any more than she could stop breathing. She feared that if she stopped doing either, she would die. This this would be a hyperbole, an extreme exaggeration, because I mean nobody. You need air. So this would be an example. I'll put figurative language. This is a hyperbole. Hyperbole. And that would be an extreme exaggeration. All right, that's our hyperbole. And we also have some other stuff here it's important to note. We have our setting. Our setting is a long time ago in Australia. Hence why it's the folktale, the long time ago thing. And then we also get our type of narration. So this story is being narrated by an unknown narrator. So we have third person narration. And I'll put the narrator is not in the story. There is an unknown voice narrating the story to readers. That's third person. Now, third person narration, it would mean, so I actually also, how I remember it, first person, I am the first person, I come first. Second person, you are the second person, you can come next. Third person, he or she, they or them, they're all the way over there. They have to come third. So, what that would mean, first person, I'm the most important. First person means the narrator would be in the story. And if this was a first person story, it would read like, long ago in Australia, I lived a girl named me, Kanikaya. She would be the narrator if this was first person, but it's not. third person. So an unknown narrator is talking about Kanikaya here. All right. And then our point of view. This is point of view. The reader knows the thoughts and feelings of Kanikaya, but not anybody else, not her mom. Well, a little bit. Well, we know we have a little bit of her mom's here, where it says Kanikaya's mother hearing of the disapproval. So this is the point of view of Kanikaya's mother, but then here we get the point of view of Kanikaya. The reader knows the thoughts and feelings because that's inside of her head. So that would tell us it's third person limited point of view, but we wouldn't need to know that right now. And then also, of course, we have our conflict introduced here. The conflict is Kanikaya just wants to dance. All right, let's see what happens. Flocks of silvery gray broglas stop near Kanikaya's camp during their migration in the spring and fall of each year. Then, more than any other time, Kanikaya would forget her work, steal to the river, and watch the birds dance as the day darkened. As if impelled by a strong, mysterious force, Kanikaya would join in their dance at the river's edge, her scarlet ribbon flying behind her. If only I could dance with the cranes all my life. Wait, I want to highlight this. Because as we have, if only I could dance with the cranes all my life, thought Kanikaya as she trudged back to the camp. Then I would be at peace. One spring evening, Kanikaya's mother found her daughter dancing near the riverbank before she had finished gathering cabbage palms for their evening meal. I can do nothing with you, Kanikaya, her mother shouted. I have decided. You must not leave the camp until the Broglas have left. I feel they have powers over you that must be broken. While her mother spoke, Kanikaya felt tears gather. She sensed the eyes of the Broglas upon her. Glancing up, she marveled as they dipped their heads and danced a slow, mournful dance. They understand my sorrow, Kanikaya thought, the knowledge warming her. Her mother grabbed her arm, pulling her toward the camp. Within Kanikaya's heart, something died as she left the river that evening. Plodding up the bank, she felt her life begin to ebb away. These are words we definitely want to keep in mind. The next day, instead of going out to gather food, Kanikaya stayed in the camp. She wove baskets from the reeds and the other children collected. Day followed day in a mournful blur. She couldn't eat, she wouldn't smile. The heaviness in her heart grew, and because of that, she became weaker. As she worked, she listened to the happy calls of the brolgas, and imagined herself dancing with them, twirling, dipping, and free. At night, she danced with the birds in her dreams. If only I could dance with them again, she'd think each morning upon waking. Then I would find rest for my soul. Soon the call of the Brolgas became too strong for Kanikaya to deny. One morning before dawn, she heard them calling her. Slipping out of the camp, she rushed down to the riverbank to dance with the cranes. Just this one time, she thought, as she whirled her scarlet ribbon floating behind her. Just this once, then peace will visit me again. Later that morning, she was not found at her weaving. Her mother looked for her throughout the camp, and not finding her there, searched near the river. As Kanikaya's mother neared the water, she found dozens of wild brolgas dancing and dipping to the sound of the wind in the trees. Fearful of their savage dance, she turned to go. But before she started up the path, she noticed one graceful crane in the center of the flock, a scarlet ribbon tied around her neck, dipping her head in greeting. And that is the end. So this is our resolution. Kanikaya's mother does not find her. So we have resolution, right? Kanikaya is gone. This is a folktale. make believe, fantasy, right? And so if that's the resolution, right? The falling action is here. We have Kanikaya. Her mom's looking for her, right? So the resolution is a Broga in a red scarlet ribbon basically says hello to Kanikaya's mother. And then the falling action, Kanikaya's missing, dancing. She leaves to go dance. She is not found. We could say this would be your climax, right? Because climax would be Kanikaya makes the final decision to go dancing with the Brolugs. I'm not saying that right. Brolgas after her mother forbid her. So that's the climax. Kanikaya makes a decision. She's like, I don't care. I'm going to go dance with the Brolgas. So everything else, all of this is your rising action. Really, this is your exposition up to here. And then you would say, so all this is your exposition. Well, just these two paragraphs. And then once you get your first event, then we're in our rising action. So this is our first plot event. So this exposition is telling us the setting. We're going to figure out how it's being narrated. And then we get the inkling, we get the characters. So we know we have our protagonist, Kanikaya, right? I'm going to put that there. So we know our protagonist is a girl named Kanikaya. And we also get our conflict that her mom, that she's always dancing and she's supposed to be, doing chores. So Kanikaya is our protagonist. Her mother, antagonist. Now, this is a very good example of how the antagonist in the story doesn't have to be this evil villain all the time. Kanikaya's mother, she's not evil. She's probably super sad that Kanikaya's gone and turned into a Brogla, right? That was crazy. So the rising action would be where we start our first events. This is the first event. Kanikaya's mother starts to hear that the town disapproves of her, which you could say is kind of messed up, that Kanikaya's mom. You could maybe characterize her as someone that cares what other people think. Conformist. A conformist is somebody who conforms to what everybody else is doing. But in this case, you can't just be dancing all day, I guess, right? All right, so rising action, and then all the events in the rising action. We find out that there's this rumor. Okay, wait, and the rumor here, isn't it kind of strange? Okay, wait, don't you guys think it's weird that Kanikaya's mother told her this story about a kid that turned into a dingo? A dingo is a type of dog that would live in Australia, like a wild dog, kind of like a coyote, but a dingo. Same with the Brogla. A Brogla is kind of like a crane or a swan or a duck, even sort of, but it's not. It's different. Slightly Australian animals because it's an Australian folktale. All right, but wait. You could say now, when we first read this story, we probably didn't think that the girl was going to turn into a crane animal, a bird, but she did. So now when we go back into the story, right? This is weird. This is what you would refer to as foreshadowing. Foreshadowing. Kaya does turn into an animal. So this warning her mother gave ended up happening. That's why it would be foreshadowing, because this was just a very random thing. Hey, don't turn into a dingo, or if you always are hanging out with the animal, then you're going to turn into the animal. Why did she say this? Well, in the story, it seems like she's saying it to like scare Kanikaya, right? But now for us as readers, we're almost like, what she really did. So that's foreshadowing, because it gave us this little hint that, well, I mean, it wouldn't have been a hint at the time. So foreshadowing, you really can, I mean, sometimes foreshadowing is obvious. Like Kanikaya left that day and would never see her family again. That might tell us something, right? That's obvious foreshadowing. But this is sneaky foreshadowing. Why did they randomly mention this story about the kid that turned into the dingo? Because Kanikaya is going to turn into a crane. So now, the next thing, now that we've seen we had some foreshadowing, we most definitely have the red ribbon. So in this story, the Scarlet Ribbon, here's the Scarlet Ribbon. Wait, if I underline every time the Scarlet Ribbon was around. So her Scarlet Ribbon's flying behind her here. And she had her Scarlet Ribbon at the beginning, right? So we have Kanikaya. She's dancing so gracefully. She wore a scarlet ribbon around her neck. Multiple times, the scarlet ribbon comes up. Also at the end, when she nods her head. So, we can most definitely say the red scarlet ribbon is a symbol for Kanikaya's love of dance and individuality, we could say. We're making it up, right? So, like, in literature, when something comes up a lot, it you can give it a symbol. Like, Harry Potter's wand could symbolize like magic and, well, I guess that's his. But a symbol just means it's just something a little bit different than the red ribbon. We know it's a red ribbon, but the red ribbon, it symbolizes Kanikaya and her love of dance. You could say it symbolized that she disobeys her mother because that's what her mother ends up seeing left of her. So a love of dance, individuality. You could also say, uh, we could say the red ribbon is also a symbol of Kanikaya's, Kanikaya breaking free from the constraints of society and being able to pursue her passions. Any of those things the red ribbon can symbolize. Something broader, something more than just the ribbon. It symbolized Kanikaya's love of dance. It symbolized her wanting to break free of this village and be with her love of animals. Anything you want to say, as long as it's related to Kanikaya and her dancing and the story, what ended up happening. Her morphing into a bird. And for the next lesson, we will go over our questions.